Brenner Mills, Minnesota Vikings. Just want to win one before I die.
I'm Riley Mills, and I didn't go to college. Bear down, baby.
Lane Cooner, the conductor of the Baker train.
And I'm just getting word that the conductor of the Baker train will not make it to this episode. I apologize for anybody tuning in that expected to see the conductor on the show, but you're getting your boy Bryn hosting as always. Your boy Riley's joining the show again. He's missed a few weeks, but he's back.
It sounds like the Baker train got robbed by a bunch of cowboys.
Yeah,
That's
the Baker train.
What it was
There was
sounding
a bunch of cowboys that stood the Baker train up, and I think the conductor left with the Cowboys. For those of you who don't know, the third member of our show is a huge Cowboys fan, but he's also a huge Baker Mayfield supporter. Always loved Baker Mayfield. So that was a very bittersweet game for him. But yeah, another team on the edge of the playoffs, the Cincinnati Bengals. And if you clicked on the episode, you saw the title. I mean, they got Denver this week, and then they just got to win out, and they need a couple other things here and there, and they could end up making the playoffs. Do you think the Cincinnati Bengals have what it takes to make the playoffs?
I definitely think they do if that defense holds down, and I think this is very on brand for the Bengals. If you've looked at Joe Burrow's career, I mean, it's been a talking point about how he starts the Bengals as a team start slow. And they picked up at the end of the season. Now, they have not started as slow as they did this season.
Yeah.
But they're making a comeback. They're fighting through, and I think it's very possible they make it into the playoffs and win.
So I'm pulling up their schedule now. I do know they're a top 10 offense. I think they're like 6th in the league in offense. I can pull it up. Yeah, they're the 6th ranked offense exactly. But they're 28th on defense. They're the 28th ranked defense, so 4th from the bottom. That is, or 5th from the bottom technically. That is not good. That is not where you want your defense to be. They have to beat Denver in Cincinnati, and then they have to beat Pittsburgh at Pittsburgh, and they need Denver to lose to Kansas City the following week, and like Miami to lose one, and Indy to lose one, I think, and then they're in the playoffs. And I think this is a very real possibility for Cincinnati. And I would much rather see Cincinnati at Buffalo week 1 of the playoffs, right? Versus Denver against Buffalo. No offense to Denver. They've played their asses off and they've been a good team all year. But I think Denver goes into that building. It is a 34-14 win for Buffalo. I think Cincinnati goes into that building and it's a 43-34 victory for Buffalo and just a way better, more entertaining game to watch.
Yeah.
So that's kind of the Cincinnati playoff push picture. They are my biggest MVP this week. Bengals are. They're rolling. They've won 3 straight. As I talked on the power ranking episode about it, they put up 27 in like 6 of their last 7 games. Their offense is humming. Their defense has played really well the past 2 weeks. Now it's been against the Browns and the Titans, and I know you're gonna say they got 27 put up on them by the Titans. They had a positive defensive expected points. A lot of those were in garbage time. I'm not mad at anything. I want to see how they play against Denver. I want to see how they handle a Sean Payton offense that can be explosive, that can be threatening, and how they shut it down. And if they can shut it down, and if they can't, how the offense performs. What do you think, Riley?
So, I agree with you. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Sorry, I'm parched. I needed to. I do a lot of talking, if you haven't noticed, and parches the throat. So, who's your MVP this week? Do you have an MVP for us?
So my biggest MVP, I'm going to go with Lamar Jackson, and those of you who know me, I have been critical of Lamar in the past. But with all the talk going into this game against Pittsburgh, him being 2-5 against them, and him needing this game to essentially get in the race to win the division.
Yeah.
He came out and played great. They halfway spanked the Steelers. I think he had 3 total touchdowns, maybe 4.
I think he had 3 total touchdowns.
Three total touchdowns. But it was a game that his team really needed, and an opponent that he had not fared well against in the past.
Yeah.
And for those reasons, he's my biggest MVP.
Yeah, so I've talked a lot about expected points added this week, offensively and defensively. The Ravens have had 1 negative game all season. All season.
Offensively or as a team?
Offensively. As a team, they've had more, but offensively, they've had 1 game where their offense has performed poorly, and that was against the Steelers in Pittsburgh. So to then come back, I mean, we talked about how, 12 to 20 points is really good for an offense, right? Like really good on the expected points added. They've had this season 9-6, which that's to start the season. Then they went on a run. 20, 19, 24, 20, 23, 9, 23, 18, the -6 against the Steelers, 17, 4 bye week, 25, 12. So they have been up in the teens, 20s all season, which isn't common. Like offenses don't do that all the time. Their defense has had a negative rating 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 times this season. It has been their biggest hindrance. They are currently 19th in the league in defense. They play at Houston on Christmas. That's going to be a great game. And then they play the Browns at home. I think they can win both of those games and make a strong playoff push. And I would really love to see Lamar Jackson in the playoffs because he's Lamar Jackson.
If you look at Pittsburgh's, who is currently ahead of them because of tiebreakers, they go into KC.
And sorry, they have clinched a playoff spot. I should apologize for that. We will see them in the playoffs, but division winner is what I meant by that.
Yes. Pittsburgh is playing Kansas City this week. I don't think that bodes well for Pittsburgh. Do you have any idea who they play week 18?
Pittsburgh? I can pull it up as you continue.
Either way, Pittsburgh's got to win out to hold that.
Or they just have to beat Baltimore out. They have to. If Pittsburgh wins, then or if Baltimore wins, Pittsburgh has to win. If Baltimore loses, Pittsburgh can have a loss. So they just have to match Baltimore. They can't let Baltimore get a game up. So they play the Bengals the final week, who will be fighting for their playoff lives.
Yes.
Expectedly. So
2 very tough games for Pittsburgh.
But both games are at home. Both games are at home. I mean,
we're getting to crunch time, baby.
Yeah. So if you can, for just a minute, please give me your thoughts on your biggest surprise this season for the playoffs. Who is your biggest surprise team?
My biggest surprise, I guess, I'm going to change it a little bit. The NFC North. We had high expectations for the NFC North this season, but I don't think that there are close to 40 wins inside the division right now. 3 teams in the playoffs, and not barely scraping into the playoffs. I mean, they have clinched playoff spots. All 3 teams.
Yeah, all three
left to go. I think that's been my biggest surprise. The NFC North is a hell of a division, probably the best division in football right now.
Probably. Throw a better team. Throw a better division at me, I dare you.
The Bears are bringing it down. They're bringing everything down.
I mean, I can't. You sent me the meme earlier of the one shopping cart at the store where it's 3 good wheels and then Chicago's the 4th bad squeaky wheel. So it is what it is. The Bears will get it figured out when they get a new head coach in there. The current coaching staff is the main issue. So yeah. But are you ready to be held accountable?
Are we not doing Biggest Loser?
Oh, sorry. I forgot about Biggest Losers. My bad. You can go ahead and give your Biggest Loser.
So this one is not necessarily off this week, but as a season of production, my biggest loser is Brock Purdy.
Brock Purdy?
Brock Purdy.
Okay.
Now, I know people are talking about how hurt the team's been, and he hasn't had the pieces around him, but he is, even with that, he has not played good enough. I think he has 20 total touchdowns and 11 interceptions. I don't know his total turnovers yet. He's missed a few games this year. He is making it very hard for San Francisco to give him $50 million a year, especially if they know they're going to be losing these other star pieces around him, which leaves San Francisco in a very tough spot. Maybe they try and go after Sam Darnold in the offseason at a reduced rate.
So
Sam Darnold came from San Fran before he got to Minnesota, which is
yeah,
that's just the first name that came to my mind. But there could be some very interesting talks in San Francisco this offseason.
yeah, and I'm looking at Brock Purdy's stats right here. He's 6-8 as a starter this season, 3,400 yards, which would equate out to about 250 a game. He has 17 touchdowns passing, 10 interceptions. Yeah, he's just not played great. He hasn't played god awful, but not good enough to win, especially when you don't have a team full of loaded offensive weapons.
And not good enough for I 50 million. I think the price now is 60 million.
So here's my thing. You kind of stole my biggest loser. My biggest loser was the San Francisco 49ers. So I'll pivot. Off the top of my head, Denver Broncos. You take that tough loss this past week in a game you needed to win. Like that's a game that you need to win, right? You need to win. You have a in cage match with the Browns a few weeks ago that you barely escaped alive. Denver needs to pick it up. They need to buckle up and play big boy football if they're going to be a real threat and make the playoffs.
Can I hold you there for a second?
Yeah, absolutely.
I think if you talk to Denver fans, they would say, as it stands now, the season's a success.
Yeah, I agree completely.
Just because of their record with a rookie quarterback.
They were expected to be dog shit. I mean, we picked them to be terrible. And they have exceeded expectations almost as much as the Vikings or the Bills or any of those teams have. And Sean Payton, in my opinion, as much as I hate him, should be in the running for Coach of the Year. I think it should be him, Kevin O'Connell, Mike Tomlin. Those are probably my three front runners for Coach of the Year. A lot of people have Dan Campbell in there. I don't feel like Dan Campbell should be in there. He went to an NFC Championship game last year. They were expected to be good, and they're good. Like that's.
But and as it stands now, if we're looking objectively, I don't think Denver is ready for a deep playoff push.
No, I don't think they are either. I'm just saying if they, because of the fact that they were rapidly accelerating upwards so hard and so unexpectedly, for them to kind of plateau like this all of a sudden, kind of sucks for them. And they weren't originally my biggest loser. Like I said, it was the Niners for reasons of you have to figure out your quarterback position. You just paid Brandon Ayuk $28 million a year, and now he sucks. Like, Christian McCaffrey, who knows if he's even playing next year? If I was him, I would retire. Like, he doesn't have good legs anymore. Like, so many things. They're on their fifth string running back, for God's sake. Like, Trent Williams is hurt. Like, their whole team is just in a bad position. They don't have a ton of money. They have to pay a bunch of guys. I didn't want to piggyback off you, but that Denver is my pivot move, but the Niners were my original one because they're in just such a crappy scenario. They're eliminated from the playoffs. They're going to be watching the playoffs, which continues a 20-plus year run of the Niners either missing the playoffs or making the NFC Championship. Like, every time they made the playoffs, they've made it to the NFC Championship. Other than that, they've missed the playoffs.
So I think it's the Niners Super Bowl window has passed.
Yeah, I agree. I said last year that their window was closing. Like, this is it. And nobody wanted to believe me last year when I said it. And they were like, well, they still have McCaffrey. They have Ayuk. They have Samuel. These guys are getting older. Okay, they're getting older. They have to get paid. The defense has to get paid. This season wasn't because everybody had to get paid. This season was because everybody got hurt. But I said last season the window was closing and closing fast, and I believe the door is shut. And they should go sell Happy at the beginning of the offseason. I think they should sell Ayuk. They should sell Debo. They should make Christian McCaffrey figure out what he wants to do. They should let Purdy walk. Yeah. But that's my biggest loser. And I will ask you once again, are you ready to be held accountable?
I am.
All right. So I'm going to pull it up on the screen here. So for those of you who don't know, every week throughout the entire off season, we started in May and we went all the way up until the regular season started. We would predict a week at a time the entire NFL schedule. So for instance, the week we're about to show you, week 16, was predicted sometime in, early August, probably late July, early August-ish. And we did pretty good. We did pretty good. So here is the week. Greens wins, Reds losses. We went 10-6 this week. For the second time in 3 weeks, we have gotten over 10. Oh, yeah. A couple weeks ago. Riley hasn't been on the show in a couple weeks, so you didn't get to see this.
No.
11-2 that week. That was phenomenal. That was our best week by a mile. But then we come back. We had not made 10 wins in a single set since week 2. From week 2 to week 14, we did not hit 10 wins. And now 2 out of the past 3, we have hit 10 wins. So that brings us to 136 and 105 on the season, which is over 56%, which, if I'm telling you right now that me and you have to pick every game before the season starts, even odds on every game, we would be up money right now. We would have gotten right more than we gotten wrong.
Yes.
So suck it. There's several podcasts that do it weekly, like predict weekly, and their guys are at 56, 58, 60-ish% when they're picking weekly. And we picked before the season even started.
Yes.
So suck it. We are goated. Okay. We know what we're talking about. We just sound dumb when we do it. So all right. But that was I'm going to pop it up one more time on the screen here for everybody, just so we can look at it one more time. This is the entire week 16. Green Bay, Dallas, Miami, the Chargers, the Rams, the Colts, the Bills, the Falcons with Michael Penix, the Ravens, and Cincinnati get wins. We thought Houston would get the better of the Chiefs. They didn't. We thought Arizona would beat the Panthers, which everybody did. I and Riley thought that the Bears would beat the Lions because, generally speaking, the Lions don't play well in Chicago. Now, we see how the Bears are at with their season. Well. Yeah, that was total bust. We expected Philly to be Philly, and they didn't do that. Riley and Spoon thought that the Vikings would lose in Seattle, but your boy got his teams back. And then Jacksonville, we expected to beat the Raiders, but obviously so. That sucks.
Yeah.
But that is our week 16 accountability session, and I feel like we did pretty good. Pretty good. We've only had 2 weeks that were negative, and one of those was a 500, so not even technically negative, but I'm counting it. Every other week's been at least, 1 win or more over. Next up, we got a little different situation. So normally on the show, we go through and we pick the spread for each game that week, and we're still going to do that, but we're also going to pick a winner for each game, and we're going to plug that into a playoff prediction machine, and then we're going to predict week 18, and we're going to take a look at what we think the playoffs are going to look like this season with 2 weeks left. So I'm going to pull that up on screen now. Give me just one moment here. Okay, so got that pulled up on screen. Go back tiny, pull it up. All right, so I'm going to zoom in here so everybody can see this nice and well. So you can see this here. I know this is kind of small, but I'm going to plug away here as we go through, and then we'll make this bigger for week 18. We're going to start over here on this side of the screen. We got Chiefs at Steelers. If you don't know, what we do is we pick a spread. So Chiefs -2.5, Steelers +2.5 is what it would be. And then we go from there when we give a star 1 to 5 on how confident we are that's going to happen. 1 being don't touch it, 5 being put your house on it. And you can vary in between. And for those of you who don't know sports betting, -2.5, all that means is if you pick Kansas City, they have to win by 3 points. If they lose by 2 points, the Steelers, who would be +2.5, win because they lost by less than 3 points. I know it's confusing with the minus, but all you need to know is the team here with the minus, they have to win by that many points or more to cover the bet. So with that being said, I am going to take the Chiefs minus 2.5, which means they have to win by 3 over the Steelers, and I'm going to 3-star that. Riley, what you think?
I'm gonna go Chiefs minus 2.5, and I'm gonna 4-star it. I'm pretty confident the Chiefs will beat the Steelers this week.
And we're gonna pick the Chiefs, right?
Yep.
All right, so we're picking the Chiefs in the playoff machine. Next up, we have Ravens at Texans. Baltimore minus 4. I like the Texans at home getting 4 points. I think it could be a 3-point game. I don't think it's a touchdown game, but I think the Ravens win. So I'm going to take the Texans in a 2-star on the spread, but I'm going to take the Texans to win the game. Or the Ravens to win the game. Texans to cover, Ravens to win.
I'm going to take the Ravens in a 3-star. I think their offense is just moving at a pace that the Texans can't keep up with.
Okay, so Ravens to win. So next up, we have the Hawks at Chicago at the Bears. The Bears. I'm going to take the Seahawks to cover. Minus 3.5. The Hawks have a really good offense. Kenneth Walker will most likely be back. And even if he isn't, Chardonnay's a really good running back. DK is probably going to get shut down by Jalen Johnson. Won't have a whole lot to do in the game. But Jackson Smith Najigba is the real deal. And he's going to have probably 115 yards. So I like the Seahawks to cover here in a 3-star. Riley, what about you?
I am shocked that the spread is this close.
So for those of you who don't know, any team that gets home field advantage, it's an automatic minus 3. So on a neutral site,
I was not thinking that.
On a neutral site, it would be Seahawks minus 6.5, and if it was in Seattle, it would be Seahawks minus 9.5 technically. So,
that makes much more sense.
Yeah.
Since Flus has been gone, I don't think the Bears have been within 14 points of the team they were playing. I'll take the Seahawks minus 3.5. And I'm going to 4-star it.
All right, and we're going to pick the Seahawks to win there. All right, our Saturday slate of NFL football kicks off with the Chargers heading into New England to take on the 3-12 Patriots, who just played a tough game against the Buffalo Bills. I think they're going to be absolutely exhausted in such an emotional battle against the Bills. But that being said, the Chargers from LA have to travel all the way to the East Coast to play the Patriots at 10 a.m. Pacific Standard Time. I am going to take the Patriots to cover the 5, or it's currently at 4. So I'm going to take them to cover the +4, but the Chargers to win the game.
Man. I am going to take the Chargers to cover. I just think there's such a big gap both in coaching and in talent. And the Chargers are fighting for a playoff spot, so they can't afford to lose this game.
I think Harbaugh will have his guys ready to go. I just think the time change kind of fucks with teams sometimes. I think it'll be close, but I think the Chargers will win. Broncos at Bengals. I'm taking the Bengals minus 3 and a 3-star, and I'm going to take them to win.
Where is the game at?
So Broncos hosting Bengals, I believe.
I am going to take...
I'll double check, though. So this says, it says Broncos Bengals. So I would assume at Cincinnati, actually.
Okay, then
it is in Cincinnati.
Then I will take Cincinnati in a 3-star. I think Cincinnati's starting to roll. They cannot afford to lose another game the rest of the season. And I just like Joe Burrow against Denver's defense.
Yeah, no, I don't hate it. But we're both going Bengals. All right, next up, Cardinals at Rams. I'm taking the Rams minus 6.5. I think this is a touchdown ball game all day, and I'm picking the Rams to win. 3 stars.
Yeah, I'm gonna lean towards the Rams. I think the game could be close, but I think Rams winning by a touchdown is more likely.
Yep. All right, moving on to the Sunday slate, December 29th. Where you're going to have Jets at Bills. Bills -10 currently. That's a lot of points. They just played New England close in a division game. I'm going to keep it close. The Jets have been humming these past few weeks with Devontae and Aaron Rodgers finally clicking. I'm going to take the Jets +10, but I'm going to take the Bills to win this game.
I'm right there with you. I think the Bills play their in-division teams close.
Except for Miami.
Except for Miami. Josh Allen's the part-time owner.
Yeah. Minority owner.
Minority owner. But yes, I'm going to take the Jets in a 3-star.
Cool. All right, Titans at Jaguars. What a game. An absolute slugfest that everybody in America cannot wait to watch, I'm sure, probably. So based off this alone, okay, Jags, Titans are both 3-12, but the Jags are 7-7 against the spread. The Titans are 2-13. I'm going to take the Jags -1 just because I think they're also going to win the game. So I'm taking the Jags -1 in a 4-star, and I'm going to take them to win. Basically a pick 'em. You're basically saying whoever wins the game.
Yeah, I'm going to lean towards Jacksonville just because I think they have a more talented roster. But yeah. I'll go Jacksonville in a 2-star just because they are so crappy.
That's fair. So Raiders at Saints. Both teams are bad. Saints are real beat up right now. And because of that, I'm going to take Las Vegas -1 in New Orleans. I know it sounds crazy, but the Saints they're the only team to score 0 points in a game all season. And the Packers are a playoff. Yeah, nobody had pitched a shutout yet this season.
That is a crazy stat.
Yeah, the Packers are a good defense. Don't get me wrong. They're a top 15, top 10 unit all day long. They are not good enough to be shutting teams out on the weekly basis, though. So based off that alone, the Raiders have an okay defense. Brock Bowers is the weapon at the tight end position this year. I'm going to take the Raiders -1. Riley, what do you think?
Will Kamara be back?
No.
Then yeah, I'm gonna lean towards the Raiders.
All right. Perfect. Colts at Giants. Oh man. Indy is -8. I'm gonna take the Giants to cover +8 points. That's a lot. The Colts are not a good football team. I don't feel like it's gonna be a 14-point ball game, a 10-point ball game. I think the Giants can put up some points, and the Colts are fighting for their playoff lives, but I just don't think they're a good enough team. I really don't. So I'm going to take the Colts or the Giants to cover the spread, but I'm going to take the Colts to win the game.
I'm going to take the Colts to cover. I think as bad as the Colts are, the Giants are that much worse.
Okay. All right. Excuse me. Just kidding. But we're picking Indy to win, right?
Yes.
Cool. Cowboys at Eagles here. So the Eagles are up to, they started at a -8 and they're up to a -9 now. I like the Cowboys there. The Cowboys have been clicking on offense lately. Philly looked susceptible last week. I don't think this is a 10-point game. I like the Cowboys +9. Push worst case scenario. I feel like a touchdown and a field goal would be about right for them. So like a push isn't crazy. If you can get it at 9.5, I'm 4-starring it. At 9, I'm 2-starring it. And I'm taking the Eagles to win the game.
Yeah, I'm kind of right there with you. I'm going to take the Cowboys to cover, but the Eagles to win. And I'm going to 2-star that.
Okay. All right. So Panthers at Bucks. The Panthers have been playing really well lately. The Bucks are coming off a loss. I'm taking the Panthers to cover that +8. I do not think the Bucks are going to sit there and shit on the Panthers. Bryce Young's for real. He's played really good lately, and I like it. I'm taking the Panthers to cover in a 4-star. And I want to hear what you have to say first.
So Tampa kind of crapped the bed against Dallas.
Yep.
They still have playoff hopes, and I think that they're going to come into this game angry. And for those reasons, I am going to take Tampa to cover at 8 points.
Okay. And that means we're taking the Bucks.
Yep.
Because I'm like 50-50 on it, and if you're that hard onto the Bucks, I'll roll with you on the Bucks. So Dolphins at Browns. Whew, I think the Dolphins are going to boat race the Browns. I'm taking Miami minus 6.5 all day. I'm going to 4-star that, and I'm taking the Dolphins.
I'm right there with you. After who did they beat? Who did Miami just beat?
The Niners.
Yeah, after coming off that win against the Niners, I think they'll be feeling good. I think they'll be able to take Cleveland at 6.5.
All right, game of the week. Game of the week got flexed into Fox's America's game of the week time slot. This is a tough one, man. This is a tough one. We beat Green Bay by 3 in Lambeau earlier this season. Now, we were up 28-0 with like 2 minutes left, or like 1 minute left to go before halftime. And then they progressively scored throughout the second half and made it close. And they never had the ball with a chance to score, so the score was a little more one-sided than it really was, or made it look closer than it really was. I like the Vikings here. -1, it's basically a pick 'em. I think the Vikings are going to win this game. It's in US Bank. Riley, you can attest to, as an opposing fan, being in that building, how crazy it gets. It is Packers hate week in Minnesota. The Vikings don't like the Bears, and the Vikings don't like the Lions, but Vikings fans disdain the Packers. So that building is going to be crazy. It is going to be rocking. I like Minnesota to cover in this game. Green Bay's a great team. Take the over at 48.5. It's going to be crazy, but I like the Vikings.
I'm right there with you. I'm going to take the Vikings at home, and I would take the over. I could see this being a high-scoring game.
Let's just change this to 33.
I'm going to 3-star that.
To 27. That's what the game's get. 33-27 final score. We're gonna put that in the playoff machine just for fun. All right. So next up, NBC Sunday Night Football. We have Michael Penix, Big Penix energy, headed in to Washington to take on the Commanders on Sunday Night Football in his second official start. I think the Commanders absolutely boat race this Falcons team. Washington -4 is an atrocity. They're more than 1 point on a neutral field. I am taking the Commanders. Penix didn't play too great in his first game, not that anybody ever does, but he's had time to sit on the bench. He's had time to learn the offense. He didn't look fantastic. And for a Commanders team that's hot, that just beat the Eagles in Washington, I like the Commanders to win by more than 4 points and the game.
Yeah, I'm right there with you. I'm not going to put too much pressure on Penix too soon. I'm going to take the Commanders at -4, and I'm going to 4-star that.
I mean, at the beginning of the season, this game on December 30th looked like, oh my God, we're going to get the Lions and 49ers week 17. That's going to be for the 1 seed. That's going to be for the 1 seed. It's going to be crazy. Lions are 3.5 point favorites. What? I'm taking the Lions -3.5, and I'm running to the bank with all of my house money.
Not only is it 3.5, but look at the over. The over-under, 50 points.
51? Yeah, well, because the Lions are going to score 50.
Yeah.
I don't get this. I don't get this. Lions are winning this game.
Yeah, I'm gonna 4-star the Lions, but I also would hit that under.
Yeah, the 51 point under?
Yes.
I feel like that's okay. To hit. All right, so now we don't have spreads for week 18 yet. But we do have the schedule. And me and Riley are going to pick the schedule together. So, Riley, we didn't really talk a whole lot about this. Are we doing tie goes to the home team, or are we going to talk it through until we have a winner? I'm okay with talking it through if you are.
Let's try and talk it through, and if it's just one we can't agree on,
Tie goes to the home
whatever
team.
we do, we'll go with the home. But let's try and talk it out.
All right. So San Francisco, Arizona, first game up. I feel like this should just go to Arizona. Both teams are going to be probably resting majority of their best players. Kyler will probably play. Purdy will probably play, but like all the big names, if they're hurt at all, they're not going to see the field. I like Arizona to be at home and close out the season with a how do you do?
Yeah. It's an in division game. I could really see it going either way, but for the sake of things, I'll take Arizona.
I like it, which means so you can't see it. Okay, I moved the screen. San Francisco would finish in last place in their division. How crazy would that be?
That would be insane.
Carolina,
what we thought coming into the season.
Carolina at Atlanta. So you can see down here all the division standings. Atlanta would need to win and need Tampa Bay to lose to get that 4 seed. So they're going to be playing for their playoff lives. I think they get the win. What do you think?
I agree.
Cool. Cleveland at Baltimore. Baltimore can't move up with a win, I don't think. Yeah, they can't move up with a win. Cleveland's eliminated. I feel like both teams, or Baltimore will sit its starters. Cleveland gets a win because no starters in Baltimore.
I think even if Baltimore rests its starters, they still win.
I mean, you got Jameis Winston out there throwing the football to Jerry Jeudy. That offense has been playing really good lately. I feel like the Browns could beat Tyler Huntley in the 4th stringers on the Ravens offense.
All right. I'll settle for it.
Okay. So Dallas hosting Washington. Dallas eliminated from the playoffs. Washington will be competing to stay ahead of Green Bay in the wild card race. And not have to go to Philly potentially the following week. So I think they play their starters, and I think they get the win.
So do I. It'll be a Dan Quinn revenge game.
Yep. I like it. All right, so Kansas City at Denver. Kansas City will have the 1 seed locked up. Buffalo can't reach them. Buffalo cannot reach them. So they're going to sit their starters. Denver's going to be playing for playoff live. I feel like Denver wins this game.
Yep, I agree with all of that.
Cool. Minnesota. We're gonna save Minnesota, Detroit. We're gonna save that. All right. Chicago at Green Bay. Green Bay is gonna be playing for seeding to try to stay ahead of Washington. Green Bay. All right. Jacksonville at Indy. Is there any playoff implication here? No. There. Can't get there. Can't get. Yeah. No. Both teams are resting. I'm going to take Indy because they're the home team.
Yep, I'd take Indy too.
All right. Let's see. If the Seahawks win, they still don't get in. So Seahawks are going to sit their starter, or Rams are going to sit their starters because they can't be eliminated from the playoffs. Even if they tie division records, it doesn't matter. I think the Seahawks win because the Rams are sitting their starters.
Yep, I agree with that.
All right. We have Chargers at Las Vegas. Chargers can jump ahead a game, but they have their playoff seed locked up. They're playing a bad Chargers team or a bad Raiders team. I think the Chargers still win this game.
Yep, I agree.
Buffalo, New England. Buffalo can't drop with a loss, so I think they sit their starters. Josh Allen's not playing in this game. Give the win to New England and Drake May.
Yep.
All right, we have the Jets hosting the Miami Dolphins. Both teams eliminated from the playoffs. Jets kind of humming on offense. You think they maybe get a win at home here to close out the season?
No, I think hopes are too dire.
I don't hate it. All right. Philly is eliminated from the 1 seed. So they're locked in to the 2 seed no matter what, because Minnesota won in week 17 in this simulation. What do you think? What are you thinking here? I think they sit their starters.
I think they sit their starters, but I still think they win.
All right, still think they win. Cincinnati at Pittsburgh. If Cincinnati wins, they're still eliminated. Yeah, because Denver. Ooh, that's a huge game. Oh, that's gonna suck for Cincinnati. Oh my god, dude. Chiefs fans are gonna be so stoked that by sitting their starters, they get to eliminate the Bengals. Oh my god, dude. Kansas,
if
because
Denver's in, Cincinnati's out.
yeah, they're out. Oh my god. Because watch, I think if we do this, and then Indy loses. Oh no, then Miami. So they're behind Miami. So they would still need a lot to happen. So either way, in this simulation, Bengals don't get in. I don't think this. Oh, the Steelers have a chance to play for the division though. Where are the Ravens at? So Ravens need to win to keep the division alive. They need to. So they're going to start. So I think they win. They're going to be playing starters because they have to win. Because if Pittsburgh wins and they lose, Pittsburgh gets the division. So I'm rethinking this game.
At that point, is it worth? You're already in the playoffs.
But it's a home game. But it's a home game in the playoffs. Totally worth it. Totally worth it. So I think they actually win that game.
Unless Lamar tears an ACL. I mean,
nah, dude, you play for home field advantage in the playoffs. They will 100% start starters in that game. And then I think because of that, even if they win, they can't get it. So I think they sit. But then you have to go to Baltimore. I think they try to win and get to play against the 4-seed Texans because they don't want to go into Baltimore.
Yeah.
Okay.
I agree with that.
New Orleans against Tampa Bay. Does anything happen if New Orleans? Yeah, Tampa Bay has to win to make the playoffs. Winning in for Tampa Bay, I think they can beat the Saints.
Yeah, I think they beat the Saints regardless.
All right, Houston. If they lose, does anything happen? No, they keep the 4-seed either way. They sit their starters. Tennessee gets the feel good win to close out the season against the Houston backup. How do you feel about that?
Yep.
All right, now what should be Sunday Night Football, and I think we're too late to flex it, so I don't know why it isn't. Minnesota at Detroit. Holy ship. How do you feel about this game? I'm going to say that if everything tracks, right, like we expect the things to go the way they will, I expect Minnesota to win this game and split the season series with Detroit because their defense is that banged up, and Detroit will be facing the number 2 defense in the league in Minnesota. Their offense will get slowed to 27 points. Minnesota will put up 30 points in a reversal, 30-27 Minnesota.
Man, it's just so tough.
It is. I don't disagree with you.
Man, I could really see this game going either way. I tend to lean with the home team.
Yep.
But Detroit's defense is just so banged up.
So here's what I'll say. Okay, here's my pitch for Minnesota.
All right.
Other than being a fan. All right.
This is the Shark Tank. My ears are open.
All right. So in the first game we played against them, okay, Sam Darnold was one slight, like I'm talking a foot over JJ's arm. One outstretched throw from being able to take a knee and win that game. And that was against Detroit fully healthy. They were, except for Aiden. Aiden had been already eliminated. Aiden was out for the season, but they had everybody else. All their starters were in other than Aiden Hutchinson, and they beat us by 3 on a last-second drive to win the game in a game where we had the opportunity to close it out. And Sam Darnold, that is his only failed game-winning drive so far this season, other than the Rams game where he got yanked by the face mask in the end zone. That was total bullshit. So other than that, Sam Darnold has delivered at every single point all season, and I think if you gave him a second chance, he would convert that first down.
Yep.
For that reason, I think Minnesota wins.
You've talked me into it. I'll go Minnesota on this.
All right, and let's change it to exactly what I said. I definitely think Detroit can put up 27, 28, 29 points on anybody. I can see this being a 33-30 game. And if
I
the
do think
line,
losing David Montgomery is going to be huge, just
yeah,
because I am a Bears fan and I know how good of a back he is.
he is a really good back, and he's there. I mean, so last week they showed it, the difference between Montgomery and Gibbs. Gibbs had 4 tries. They got a first down, then they got a first down from like the 3, right? And they couldn't get in. And then first, second, and third down, he got stuffed on goal to go and 1.
Yep.
And it took them a 4th down conversion to get him in the end zone. So
Montgomery's just built different.
Dude, he
falls forward every time.
Yeah. And Jahmyr Gibbs is an amazing running back, but he is the lightning to Gibbs' thunder, Sonic and Knuckles. Like, there's a reason they have those nicknames that, one's the power, one's the speed. And I'm not trying to say Jahmyr Gibbs can't be a 3-down back, because he can. Don't get me wrong. He got into the end zone. Like, it's not like has this huge downside of being incapable of power football. He can run in between the tackles and the guards. So he's a good back. I just think their defense is too banged up to be able to hold Minnesota off. Minnesota has scored 27 plus points in 4 out of their past 5 games, I believe, or 3 out of their last 4. Their offense is playing really well right now. The Vikings hadn't won in Seattle since 2006. So if that says anything about how cursed we were there, I told Riley before, we're cursed in Seattle. We don't win in Seattle. It just doesn't happen. So for us to be
crazy, almost 20 years.
Almost 20 years we hadn't won in Seattle. And it's not like they're in the AFC and we only play them every 8 years. We play them all the time. So we played there 3 straight years on Monday Night Football. Like, we just don't win there. And one of those years we went to the NFC King Championship game. So we just don't win in Seattle. And so to see that this Vikings team is not your grandfather's Viking team, it is Kevin O'Connell's got this offense playing different. He's got Brian Flores has his defense playing different. And I have the utmost respect for Ben Johnson, not Dan Campbell, Ben Johnson. And what he can scheme up offensively. And he's gotten the better of Brian Flores most of the time. And I think I think the defense is just too banged up to do that this time. But and I think if the Lions were fully healthy, I think the Lions would win this game. I'm not afraid to say that. I think going in there fully healthy against a fully healthy Lions team is semi-impossible to do. So, but they're not. So let's take a look now. This is what we have the playoffs as. We have round 1, Green Bay at Philadelphia. Riley, I feel like Philly probably wins this game.
I agree.
All right, Philadelphia. We have the Commanders going into Tampa Bay. Man, this is tough.
That's what I'm saying.
They beat Philly last year in the playoffs. Who do you lean towards? Let me ask you that.
It really depends on how these next 2 games go.
Right now, who do you lean towards?
Washington.
I lean Washington too. Let's go Washington.
I want to say Tampa just because they're at home, which is why I said it depends on how the 2 games go. But right now,
Tampa just lost to the Cowboys. They're going to be squeaking in if they get in at all. They're going to be emotionally taxed to then have a Washington team who's just beat Philly. Now they were down Jaden Daniels, but beat Philly nonetheless. Riding high. Detroit going into LA, facing LA for a second time this year, banged up. It was a good game. I'm taking LA here. I think the Lions are susceptible on defense. I think the Rams at home in a playoff game are putting up 35 points.
I'm leaning towards Detroit. I just am not that sold on the Rams based on how the beginning of the season went.
Yeah, but they were hurt. They didn't even have Puka and Cooper until week 8. Like, they didn't play together until week 8. And then they did, and they've looked like a great team ever since. I think they were 2-6, and we have them finishing at 10-7. So they're gonna go, or 2-5. So they'll go 8-2 to finish out the season. I mean, they're an 8-2 team. I mean, I feel like against a banged up Lions team. If this Lions team is healthy, this is a whole different conversation. But they're not healthy. I feel like this is a shootout, an absolute shootout. But the home team, I give it to the home team in the playoffs, especially. You don't have David Montgomery to kind of lean on in that run game with the power where you control the clock. You have to keep it quick tempo, up tempo, big plays with Jahmyr Gibbs and Amon-Ra St. Brown.
I'll
I know, I
give it
feel
to LA. That way the
I-
Bears can interview Ben Johnson sooner.
earlier. All right, so Denver at Buffalo. We're taking Buffalo, right?
Buffalo, yep.
This is the game I said I didn't want to have happen, but it's going to happen.
Yep.
Chargers at Baltimore. I'm taking Baltimore. Harbaugh versus Harbaugh. John has never beaten Jim. I'm taking Jim again. Pittsburgh at Houston. I'm taking Pittsburgh here.
Oh, I can't believe you. I'm leaning Pittsburgh too. But
All right, let's go. Let's go.
Houston.
Let's go. Nah, Houston's been on cruise control for a few weeks at this point. They're healthy, but they're kind of out of it, out of rhythm. And Pittsburgh, who's been playing playoff football for weeks now, comes in there, gets a gritty, tough win.
Yep.
All right, we'll keep it with the AFC here. Pittsburgh at Kansas City, which we're going to watch this week, but in Pittsburgh, it's really hard to beat a team twice in one season. It is really hard to do it, but I'm going to take Kansas City here.
I'll take Kansas City.
Oh, boy, could you imagine if we got this game? Lamar versus Josh Allen?
This would be a gauntlet for either of these two teams to get to the Super Bowl.
Oh, God, this is... And, of course, the Chiefs draw the Steelers,
yes,
right?
Of course.
They get the Steelers. They don't have to play either of the two tough teams. I know you're going to ride with the Bills here. I know you. I have to as well, just because of Baltimore's defense. I think Lamar is insane. Can't ignore the playoff struggles. Can't ignore that defense. I'm going to go Buffalo. Move over to the NFC side of the bracket. Washington, Minnesota. I'm going to take Minnesota here.
Minnesota.
Cool. LA going to Philadelphia here. How do you feel about that game?
I'm taking Philly.
I kind of think you're going to be at the Link late in January. It's going to be cold, grimy. Saquon. I like the Eagles. We'll stick with the NFC here. Philadelphia at Minnesota. This is tough. This is tough.
It is.
And I'm going to be the first to admit. Here. Okay. Philadelphia is the best running football team in the NFL. Point blank, simple, period, end of story. Okay. They have a mobile quarterback who can squat 800 pounds, and they have the best, I said it, the best running back in football in Saquon Barkley behind a top 3 offensive line. And they would be going to Minnesota to face the number 1 ranked run defense, the number 2 overall defense, and a top 10 offense. And I think this is a 24-21 win Minnesota.
Man, this is...
It's as tough a game as it gets. I can see it going either way.
Yes, and that's kind of where I'm at. But this is where I was talking about that locker room dysfunction. Where that
you think the first half goes by, AJ? They're trying to get this run established with Saquon Barkley. Doesn't quite happen the way they wanted to. He has 40 yards in the first half on like 12 carries, and AJ Brown's throwing a bitch fit because they're down 3 points, and he's not getting the football. All falls apart for him in the second half.
Yeah, that's kind of what I was leaning towards.
Ladies and gentlemen, this is a Bears fan. This is not somebody who I would have expected to pick the Vikings with me to this point.
But, okay, let me set the record straight. When I am on the pod, I am a neutral party.
No, I agree. I
always testify before I do one of my biased takes.
Yeah, absolutely. Same here. And I respect you for it, right? We're able to disassociate from our teams for split seconds to then give a neutral take on the field. And I try to do that, but as you said, we fall victim, and I try to preface any bias takes with this is a little biased. I'm a little biased when I say this, stuff like that. So I'm trying not to be biased when I say these things. And Philly is a great team. And I don't know about the locker room dysfunction being an issue. I think it'll be more that they can't get the run game established and they'll be playing from behind. Brian Flores' blitz schemes are insane. They'll have Jalen Hurts flustered. He'll be trying to throw the football around, won't be able to.
And I don't think Jalen Hurts. I might get some thought. I don't think he is such an elite passer.
Yeah, he had a good game a couple weeks ago.
He has his moments, but he doesn't do it consistent enough for me to believe that he can take that game.
And I will say this. Philadelphia took the previous number 1 ranked run defense, Pittsburgh, and marched them down the field for 10 minutes to end a game. Yep. Like, that's impressive. Like, I'm not sitting here guaranteeing you Minnesota's going to shut down Saquon Barkley. I'm saying we could limit him, because what the Vikings do so well and why we shut the run down so well shut teams down so well when it comes to defense is because we can play top tier passing defense while in a zone coverage that allows us to maintain run integrity. And that's what Brian Flores does so well, because he can blitz out of all these different zone packages. You don't know where the blitz is coming. And then you have to keep the running back in to protect against the blitz. So that eliminates a run play, unless you're going to guess the perfect spot where the run was going to be or the blitz is coming from and blitz or run the blitz, and then you're off to the races, and that's going to work out great. But most of the time, that doesn't work out so good. So I like Minnesota.
Yep.
All right. Buffalo at Kansas City.
I think it's Josh's year.
Man.
We say that every year, but
I don't
done more with less than he's ever had. He's playing more efficient.
I wouldn't say that. He had less the year before he got Diggsy.
But he wasn't him yet. He was still learning to be
But what I will say is this Buffalo Bills defense is really good.
You're high on them?
I mean, I'm really high on the Buffalo Bills. They have played phenomenal football all year, and at every stretch, aside from the Lions game, because the Lions are the Lions, and we talked about them already, they have held their own, right? I mean, I think they are 11th overall in scoring defense, and that doesn't help between the Lions and the Rams game. But before those two games, so they've given up 40 in both of those games. They gave up 21 to New England. Before that, their opponents had scored 10, 21, 20. Bad game against the Dolphins in Tua's first game back, so that's kind of odd. Then they had held 10, 10, 20, 23, 35 against Lamar and the Ravens. But before that, 10, 10. And then 28 week 1. Week 1's weird. So they've played well at times all season. I just don't think it'll be enough. I think Kansas City will get the win. They have Hollywood Brown back. They have DeAndre Hopkins. They have Kareem Hunt, who apparently can come off the couch and play at a Pro Bowl level. They have Isaiah Pacheco healthy. The only weakness on their entire offense is the tackle position, and Buffalo's edge rushers aren't like phenomenal. So I don't know if they have the ability to exploit that like they want to.
We've talked about how many times they have gotten saved, and I just don't. They have not passed the eye test for so long. I think this is the one. This is the game it catches up.
You know, you have defaulted and given me some, so I'm going to give you some. I could see it going either way. You're pretty confident in the Bills. We can give it to the Bills.
Now, this we're not going to agree on.
We're never going to agree on. Other than the fact that I guarantee you, if this came to fruition, which it probably won't, we're probably going to be dead wrong, and it worries me that we picked this because this almost guarantees it's not going to happen. But if this happened, the two teams that are 0-4 in the Super Bowl both make the Super Bowl, there will be an atomic bomb that goes off in New Orleans 30 minutes before kickoff, guaranteed. Guaranteed. Russia will bomb New Orleans 30 minutes before kickoff. I guarantee it.
I didn't even think about that 0-4 stat. That would be
Yeah.
insane.
But one's got to win, right? One of
One's
them's
got
got
to
to.
win.
One's got to. That'd be the NFL's wet dream. If Kansas City can't make the Super Bowl and go for the three-peat, this would be the NFL's wet dream, right?
Watch it go into like double overtime.
Oh my God,
Just
I would be a
neither of them
mess,
want to
dude. I
win.
would be a mess.
Ah.
Oh, I don't even want to think about that. All right, Vikings win Super Bowl. Woohoo! Just kidding. But that's how we think it's gonna shake out. I mean, I feel like we did a pretty good job. I don't know, man. If I had to pick a winner in the Super Bowl and we were facing the Bills, I would be so worried about Josh Allen. I'd be so worried about Josh Allen. I wouldn't be able to sit here and be like, we're gonna win. We're gonna
He
win.
can
No.
just turn into Superman at a moment's notice. He
Yeah.
can be whatever you need him to be to win.
Yeah, it's absolutely crazy. I love it. He's played phenomenal all season. He deserves an MVP. I also think Lamar Jackson deserves an MVP, and it's both of them deserve it. And I hate that only one of them can win it. But yeah, do you have anything else before we close up the show here?
No, not at the moment.
Well, make sure to tune into our Film Room Friday where we're going to break down Joe Burrow against the who was it? It was the God, why am I brain farting so hard right now? Who did Joe Burrow just play last week? Oh my God, why am I brain farting so hard right now?
Browns?
Yes, sorry. Thank you. Joe Burrow against the Browns. God, I could not think. We're going to break that down on Film Room Friday, so make sure to tune into that this week. Until then, see you next time.